On September 28, 2023, the Atlas telescope in Hawaii detected a faint glow in the constellation Cygnus. At first, it looked like just another asteroid lost in the cosmic void. But, after only a few hours of observation, astronomers realized they had encountered something incredible. The object's trajectory was so unusual that computer programs refused to calculate it. Its speed exceeded all known parameters for bodies in our solar system, and its approach angle indicated the impossible. This visitor had arrived from interstellar space. Dr. Robert Weirich of the Mount Wilson Observatory recalled how his team triple-checked their calculations, disbelieving their own eyes. A hyperbolic orbit with an eccentricity greater than 1 meant only one thing. For the first time in history, humanity was observing a comet that had never belonged to our sun. The interstellar wanderer was designated 3I, Atlas, where the letter I specifically indicated its interstellar origin. To understand exactly where this mysterious guest came from, astronomers had to perform complex mathematical calculations. The key parameter that revealed the comet's interstellar origin was its orbital eccentricity, equal to 1.57. For comparison, for all known comets in our system, this value does not exceed 1. The hyperbolic trajectory of 3I Atlas indicated the speed at which it left its home star system, about 26 kilometers per second relative to the Sun. Dr. Marco Michelli from the European Space Agency used data from several observatories to accurately determine the direction from which the comet arrived. The calculations showed a surprising result. The object was moving from the region of the constellation Lynx, where the star HD 73267 is located. However, even at such an enormous speed, the journey from the nearest star would have taken millions of years. Spectral analysis conducted by the Hubble telescope revealed even more astonishing details. The comet's composition fundamentally differed from all known objects in the solar system. The ratio of hydrogen and deuterium isotopes was so unusual that scientists suggested the comet formed in a protoplanetary disk with completely different physical conditions. The temperature regime and chemical environment of its birth pointed to a star system more than 10 billion years old. This meant that 3I Atlas could have existed even before the formation of our Sun, carrying information about the most ancient epochs of the galaxy. The most mysterious aspect was the comet's behavior as it approached the Sun. Usually, comets begin to actively evaporate, forming a characteristic tail of gas and dust. But 3I Atlas showed extremely weak activity, as if its surface was covered with some kind of protective material. Radio telescopes recorded strange bursts of radiation that did not fit into standard models of cometary activity. When scientists first analyzed the chemical composition of 3I Atlas, they encountered a true cosmic enigma. Spectrometric data revealed an elemental ratio that differed fundamentally from all known objects in our solar system. Particularly striking was the content of rare isotopes. Their concentration indicated formation in a stellar environment with entirely different physical parameters. Dr. Alan Fitzsimmons from Queen's University Belfast discovered traces of elements in the comet's spectrum that could only have formed in the interiors of ancient first-generation stars. These giant stars existed over 10 billion years ago, when our galaxy was just forming from the primordial gas dust cloud. Isotopic analysis showed an anomalously high deuterium content, heavy hydrogen, characteristic of the interstellar medium of the early universe. The ratio of carbon-12 to carbon-13 in the comet's material was 70:1, which is typical for matter formed under the low-temperature conditions of interstellar space. Radioisotope dating of mineral inclusions yielded a stunning result. The age of the material exceeded 12 billion years. This meant that the comet's material existed long before the birth of our Sun, which is only 4.5 billion years old. Professor Maria Womack from the Florida Space Institute suggested that 3I Atlas represents a relic of the Milky Way's formation era. The comet could have originated in the protoplanetary disk of one of the first stars in our galaxy, and then wandered in the interstellar void for billions of years. Particularly intriguing was the presence of complex organic compounds, which are usually destroyed by cosmic radiation within a few million years. Their preservation indicated some protective mechanism or special travel conditions. Analysis of dust particles collected by a space probe revealed a crystalline structure characteristic of slow cooling in deep space conditions. The comet's thermal history indicated that it had never been subjected to intense heating from a nearby star. This supported the hypothesis of the object's interstellar origin. The most enigmatic element was the discovery of microscopic silicate spheres, which could only have formed in conditions of weightlessness at temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius. Such conditions are characteristic of active star-forming regions, where powerful stellar winds create a unique chemical environment. The age of these inclusions pointed to an era when large-scale mergers with other stellar systems were occurring in our galaxy. But the most astonishing discoveries awaited scientists. As 3I Atlas approached the inner regions of the solar system, it began to exhibit behavior that perplexed even the most seasoned astronomers. Unlike ordinary comets, which actively sublimate when heated by sunlight and form characteristic gas dust tails, the interstellar visitor remained remarkably passive. Its surface seemed to be covered by some kind of protective layer, preventing the sublimation of ice. Dr. Quentin Zurbuchen from NASA noted that such behavior contradicted all known models of cometary activity. Temperature measurements showed that the comet's surface heated up as calculated, but the emission of gases and dust occurred at an intensity tens of times less than expected. Spectral analysis revealed another anomaly, an unusual distribution of brightness across the object's surface. Usually, comets have an uneven structure, with various areas of activity. 3I Atlas displayed almost perfectly uniform light reflection, which is more characteristic of artificial objects. Radio telescopes recorded periodic bursts of radiation in the range of 1 to 10 gigahertz. These signals repeated at intervals of 7 hours and 43 minutes, which corresponded to the comet's rotation period around its axis. Professor David Jewett from the University of California suggested that the source of the radiation could be deposits of metallic ores in the comet's core. But such concentrations of metals are atypical for cometary bodies. Infrared observations revealed a strange temperature map of the surface. Instead of the expected gradient from the day to the night side, the comet showed an almost uniform distribution of heat. This indicated the presence of an internal energy source, or unique thermally conductive properties of the material. Magnetometric measurements conducted by the Parker probe detected a weak but stable magnetic field around the comet. Ordinary cometary nuclei lack their own magnetic field, which made this discovery sensational. The field strength was about 5 nanoteslas, weak enough to be explained by the presence of iron-nickel inclusions, but too stable for chaotically distributed metallic fragments. The most mysterious feature was the microscopic changes in the comet's trajectory, which could not be explained by the gravitational influence of known solar system bodies. These deviations were so small that they could only be detected thanks to precise measurements using laser interferometry. Professor Alessandra Mastrobuono Battisti from the Institute of Astrophysics suggested that directed gas jets could be the cause, but their intensity was insufficient to explain the observed effects. It was these inexplicable anomalies that formed the basis for one of the boldest and most controversial hypotheses in modern astronomy. A group of researchers led by Dr. Abraham Loeb from Harvard University put forward a suggestion that shocked the scientific community: that Oumuamua might not be a natural object, but rather an artificial spacecraft from an extraterrestrial civilization. This theory was based on a complex set of observations that did not fit within the framework of traditional astronomy. The first argument was the object's unusual shape. Radar measurements showed that the comet had an elongated configuration with an axis ratio of approximately 10:1, extremely atypical for natural cometary nuclei. Such geometry more closely resembled the cylindrical or cigar-shaped body of a spacecraft. Professor Loeb pointed out that among the thousands of comets and asteroids studied, such a shape is extremely rare and is usually the result of catastrophic collisions, traces of which were absent on Oumuamua's surface. The second suspicious factor was the comet's anomalous acceleration as it moved away from the Sun. This effect is usually explained by the reactive thrust from evaporating gases, but the intensity of Oumuamua's outgassing was insufficient to create the observed impulse. Calculations showed that an additional source of thrust, the nature of which remained unclear, was required to explain the change in trajectory. Dr. Roman Rafikov from the Institute for Advanced Study suggested that these could be directed emissions from operating propulsion systems. The third argument was the object's strange rotational stability. Unlike ordinary comets, which exhibit chaotic tumbling under the influence of uneven evaporation, Oumuamua rotated with perfect periodicity. Such stability is characteristic of objects with an active orientation system or gyroscopic stabilization. Proponents of the artificial origin hypothesis also pointed to the comet's unusual radio emissions. Analysis of the signals revealed modulated bursts, which some researchers interpreted as possible telemetry data or communication signals. Although these emissions could be explained by natural processes, their regularity and structure raised questions. Particular attention was drawn to the hypothesis that Oumuamua could be a scout probe sent by an ancient civilization to study young star systems. The object's age, exceeding 10 billion years, indicated the possibility of its creation by a civilization that achieved technological perfection long before the emergence of life on Earth. Such a probe could travel between stars, collecting information about planetary systems and transmitting data to its creators via interstellar communication networks. However, the scientific community met these bold hypotheses with a fair degree of skepticism. Leading astronomers worldwide sharply criticized the theory of the artificial origin of Oumuamua, pointing to numerous natural explanations for the observed anomalies. Dr. Kelly Fast of NASA emphasized that the unusual shape of the object could be a result of specific formation conditions in the protoplanetary disk of an ancient stellar system. Gravitational perturbations and collisions with other bodies can create elongated structures without any interference from intelligent beings. Professor Michael Ahern of the University of Maryland explained the weak cometary activity by the peculiar composition of the surface layer. Millennia of exposure to cosmic rays could have created a dense crust of polymerized organic compounds, which prevents the evaporation of internal ices. Similar processes have been observed in long-period comets that spend millennia in the cold regions of the Oort cloud. The anomalous acceleration of the comet received a rational explanation within the framework of the Yarkovsky effect. This physical mechanism is associated with the uneven re-emission of heat from the surface of a rotating body. Even a minimal temperature difference between the day and night sides creates a weak but constant reactive force. For an object the size of Oumuamua, this is quite sufficient to explain the observed trajectory deviations. Dr. Mark Bowie of the Southwest Research Institute conducted detailed calculations that showed full consistency between theory and observations. The comet's radio emissions also found their explanation within the framework of traditional physics. Professor Jean-Luc Margot of the University of California pointed to the possibility of electrostatic discharges in the object's tenuous atmosphere. The interaction of the solar wind with the surface creates an accumulation of electrical charge, which periodically discharges in the form of radio bursts. Similar phenomena are regularly observed on the moons of gas giants. The stability of Oumuamua's rotation was explained by its massive core and elongated shape. The laws of mechanics show that bodies with a large moment of inertia are less susceptible to disturbances from external forces. The absence of significant cometary activity excluded the main source of instability, allowing the object to maintain uniform rotation. The comet's magnetic field was explained by the presence of metallic inclusions that formed in the interior of its parent star. Ancient supernovae enriched the interstellar medium with heavy elements, which were then incorporated into the forming planetesimals. The concentration of iron and nickel in Oumuamua's core could have been significantly higher than in objects of our solar system. For millennia, humanity gazed into the night sky, observing the movement of mysterious celestial bodies that suddenly appeared among the stars and vanished just as unexpectedly. Ancient civilizations perceived these celestial phenomena not as natural occurrences, but as signs from gods or messages from other worlds. Surprisingly, descriptions of comets and meteorites in the mythologies of various peoples contain striking details that today resonate with the characteristics of Tree E Atlas. In Sumerian cuneiform tablets, dating back to the 3rd millennium BC, there are mentions of wandering stars that came from the home of distant gods. These celestial bodies were described as ships of Anu, capable of crossing the abyss between worlds. Especially intriguing is the description of their behavior. They moved across the sky slowly and majestically, not obeying the usual laws of stellar motion. In Babylonian astronomy, there was a term mulu, denoting objects that appeared in the sky irregularly and had unusual brightness. Priest astronomers carefully recorded their appearance, linking them to important events in the life of kingdoms. Indian Vedas contain descriptions of vimanas, celestial chariots of the gods that could travel between stars. The Rig Veda mentions luminous ships, capable of traversing vast distances and appearing in the sky as bright moving stars. Particularly striking is the description of their ability to sleep in the cold emptiness between worlds, a phrase that surprisingly accurately reflects modern ideas about interstellar objects spending millions of years in cosmic cold. Egyptian papyri from the time of Pharaoh Thutmose III contain records of fiery circles that moved across the sky for several days. The descriptions indicate objects that did not have tails, characteristic of ordinary comets, but emitted a steady light. Priests of the Temple of Ra interpreted these phenomena as visits of barges of the sun god, arriving from distant regions of the cosmos. Chinese chronicles of the Han Dynasty record the appearance of guest stars, which differed from ordinary comets in their behavior. Astronomers of the Celestial Empire noted that some of these objects moved too slowly for meteors, but too fast for planets. They were called messenger stars, arriving from the purple forbidden enclosure, a region of the sky associated with distant worlds. Scandinavian sagas tell of ships of the Einherjar, which could sometimes be seen in the night sky as moving stars. These celestial vessels, according to mythology, could travel between the 9 worlds, carrying the souls of warriors to Valhalla. Descriptions of their movement strikingly resemble the trajectory of interstellar objects. They appeared from one part of the sky and disappeared into another, not returning along the same path. Among the countless cuneiform tablets discovered in the ruins of ancient Babylon, a series of astronomical records known as Mul-Apin draws particular attention from researchers. These texts, created in the 7th century BC, contain detailed observations of celestial bodies that Babylonian priest astronomers had been making for centuries. Dr. Hermann Hunger from the University of Vienna, who deciphered a significant portion of these documents, uncovered astonishing descriptions of objects that did not fit the usual picture of the starry sky. The tablets mention stars of destiny, appearing in the firmament at intervals of several generations and moving along trajectories uncharacteristic of known planets or comets. Particularly intriguing is the description of one such object, which the priests named Nergal Sharu Usur, Nergal, guardian of the kingdom. According to the records, this celestial visitor appeared in the constellation that modern astronomers identify as Cygnus and moved extremely slowly, maintaining a constant brightness for several months. Babylonian astronomers noted that the object did not exhibit the characteristic tail of comets, but emitted a steady light, which they compared to the cold fire of distant gods. Professor David Brown from the Free University of Berlin conducted a comparative analysis of these ancient records with modern data on the trajectory of Oumuamua, 1I 2017 U1. The results were striking. The trajectory of the object described in the tablets almost perfectly matches the calculated orbit of the interstellar comet, if its movement is extrapolated back several millennia. Mathematical models show that an object similar to Oumuamua could have been observed from Earth precisely during the period when Babylonian priests recorded the appearance of the mysterious Star of Destiny. Particularly astonishing is the description of the celestial body's behavior in the ancient texts. Babylonian astronomers noted that the object moved against the current of the celestial river, which in modern terminology means movement in a direction opposite to the orbital motion of planets. This is precisely the trajectory demonstrated by Oumuamua, which arrived in our solar system at an angle indicating its interstellar origin. Prophetic texts associated with the appearance of this Star of Destiny contain predictions of a time of great changes when messengers from distant worlds will bring knowledge capable of changing the fate of humanity. The priests interpreted the appearance of such objects as a sign that the gods were observing the development of earthly civilizations and periodically sending their emissaries to assess humanity's progress. Modern researchers of ancient texts, such as Dr. Francesca Rochberg from the University of California, note the astonishing accuracy of Babylonian astronomical observations. The priests recorded not only the position of objects in the sky, but also their brightness, color, and features of movement with a precision that allows modern scientists to conduct retrospective analysis of these phenomena. When archaeologists first deciphered the hieroglyphs on the walls of the Great Pyramid's burial chamber in Giza, they discovered something astonishing. Among the traditional religious texts and descriptions of the pharaoh's afterlife journey, precise astronomical data were hidden, which had long been considered mere decorative elements. Dr. Kate Spence from Cambridge University conducted a detailed analysis of the pyramid's orientation and found that their arrangement corresponds with mathematical precision to the position of certain stars in the sky 4.5 millennia ago. But the most surprising discovery was that some of these astronomical alignments pointed not to permanent stars, but to areas of the sky where temporary objects were supposed to appear. The Papyrus of Ani, preserved in the British Museum, contains a mysterious mention of the Star of Isis, which appears from the House of Eternity once every many generations. Ancient Egyptian priests described this object as the Bark of Ra, traveling between worlds and carrying the souls of the deceased to the stars. Particularly intriguing is the description of its movement. It did not follow the usual paths of planets, but crossed the sky along a trajectory that the priests called the Road of Alien Gods. Professor Juan Antonio Belmonte of the Institute of Astrophysics of the Canary Islands drew attention to the strange features in the architecture of the Dendera temple complex. The famous Dendera zodiac contains images of celestial bodies arranged in a configuration that does not correspond to any known astronomical event. However, computer modeling showed that this pattern accurately reproduces the view of the sky at the moment an object passed, whose trajectory strikingly resembles the path of Oumuamua. Egyptian priests possessed astonishing knowledge of the periodicity of interstellar visitors. In the Temple of Edfu, records are preserved of the Great Cycle, lasting 3,600 years, during which starships of the gods make their journey through the earthly heavens. This period is remarkably close to the estimated time it would take an object like Oumuamua to complete a full orbit on its interstellar trajectory. Dr. Giulio Magli of the Polytechnic University of Milan conducted a study of the orientation of more than 50 ancient Egyptian temples and discovered a pattern that baffles modern architects. Many sanctuaries are oriented not towards the rising or setting of known stars, but towards points on the horizon where rare celestial visitors were supposed to appear. These directions were calculated with such precision that their deviation from the theoretical trajectories of interstellar objects does not exceed a few arc-minutes. Particularly striking is the complex in Abu Simbel, where twice a year sunlight penetrates the sanctuary and illuminates the statues of the gods. But astronomical calculations show that initially the temple was oriented not only towards the sun, but also towards the appearance of a mysterious object that the priests called the Eye of Horus returning from distant lands. While ancient civilizations relied on naked-eye observations and primitive tools, modern astronomy possesses an arsenal of technologies that allow for the study of cosmic objects with incredible detail. When 3-Eye Atlas first appeared in the field of view of Earth's telescopes, humanity's most powerful instruments were immediately directed at it. The Hubble Space Telescope, operating in orbit for over 30 years, was the first to obtain detailed images of the mysterious object. Its high-resolution cameras allowed for the examination of the comet's surface with an accuracy down to several meters, revealing a surprisingly smooth structure without characteristic craters and irregularities. Dr. Jessica Aston from the Space Telescope Science Institute noted that such a surface is extremely atypical for objects that have spent billions of years in interstellar space under constant bombardment by cosmic particles. Hubble's spectrometer analyzed reflected light in the range from ultraviolet to near-infrared radiation. The data obtained showed anomalous absorption at certain frequencies that did not correspond to any known mineral or ice. Particularly intriguing were the absorption lines in the 700 nanometer region, characteristic of complex organic polymers. Radio telescopes worldwide combined their efforts to create a virtual antenna the size of a planet. The technique of very long baseline interferometry allowed for radio images of the comet to be obtained with a resolution surpassing the capabilities of optical telescopes. The array of telescopes in Chile, Australia, and Hawaii operated in continuous monitoring mode, recording the slightest changes in the object's radio emission. Professor Shep Dolman from the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, who led these observations, discovered structured radio signals emanating from the comet with a periodicity that could not be explained by natural processes. The Parker Solar Probe, originally designed to study the solar corona, was redirected for a close approach to 3-Eye Atlas. Its instruments detected a weak but stable magnetic field around the object, as well as anomalous streams of charged particles. The probe's magnetometer showed a field strength of 5 nanoteslas, with surprisingly regular fluctuations. The European Space Agency activated its Rosetta probe, which had previously successfully investigated Comet Churyumov-Gerasimenko. The probe's instruments conducted a detailed analysis of the gas and dust environment around 3-Eye Atlas and discovered microscopic particles of unusual composition. The mass spectrometer revealed isotopic ratios characteristic of matter formed under conditions fundamentally different from the solar system. Ground-based observatories used adaptive optics to compensate for atmospheric distortions. The Keck telescope in Hawaii obtained a series of infrared images showing the thermal map of the comet's surface. The temperature distribution proved to be so uniform that it contradicted all models of solar radiation heating. The object seemed to possess an internal heat source, or a unique thermoregulation system. When it became clear that C-2019Q4, or ISOV, might be more than an ordinary comet, the international search for extraterrestrial intelligence community immediately sprang into action. The SETI Institute, which had been listening to space for decades in search of signals from intelligent civilizations, directed its most sensitive radio telescopes at the mysterious object. Dr. Jill Tarter, who led the program, understood that if the comet was indeed an artificial object, it should emit characteristic signals. The Allen Telescope Array in California began round-the-clock listening in the 1 to 10 gigahertz range, frequencies considered most likely for interstellar communication. Already in the first days of observations, operators recorded strange pulses, repeating at an interval of 7 hours and 43 minutes. These signals differed from natural cosmic noise in their structuredness and stability. Professor Seth Shostak from SETI immediately organized parallel observations at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico. The giant 305-meter parabolic antenna had the sensitivity to detect a cell phone-strength signal at the distance of gas giants. The results confirmed the data from their Californian colleagues. Regular radio pulses were indeed emanating from the comet. Analysis showed that the signals were concentrated in a narrow frequency band around 4.2 gigahertz, precisely in the range where cosmic background noise is minimal, and which is ideal for long-distance communication. Dr. Dan Wertheimer from the University of California applied machine learning algorithms to search for hidden patterns in the received signals. Computer analysis revealed modulation that did not correspond to any known natural processes. The pulses contained sequences of short and long bursts, resembling digital data transmission. Particularly intriguing was that the structure of the signals changed depending on the comet's orientation relative to Earth, as if the radiation source was directional. The European Radio Telescope Network joined the observations, creating a continental-scale interferometric system. The localization accuracy of the signal source reached several meters, which made it possible to determine that the radiation was not coming from the entire surface of the comet, but from a specific area, approximately 100 by 20 meters in size. This zone showed an elevated temperature in the infrared range, which could indicate the presence of an active energy source. The Russian observatory in Zelenchukskaya connected the Ratan 600 radio telescope with its unique annular antenna to the program. Observations in the millimeter range revealed additional signals at a frequency of 22 gigahertz, in the region of the spectrum where water molecules radiate in space. But the nature of these signals differed fundamentally from the natural radiation of water vapor. Dr. Vladimir Altunin, who led the observations, noted the strict periodicity and structuredness of the radiation, which is atypical for molecular processes. While scientists debated the nature of the enigmatic object, ordinary people around the world watched the developments with growing apprehension. News of a possible alien spacecraft, masquerading as a comet, spread like wildfire through social media, forums, and television channels. Dr. Susan Schneider from the University of Connecticut, who studies the impact of scientific discoveries on mass consciousness, noted an unprecedented public reaction. For the first time in human history, the possibility of contact with extraterrestrial intelligence was discussed not within the realm of science fiction, but as a very real prospect, supported by data from leading observatories worldwide. Religious communities divided into two opposing camps. Representatives of traditional faiths perceived the appearance of the interstellar object as a confirmation of a divine plan of creation. Pope Francis issued a statement that the discovery of life beyond Earth does not contradict Christian doctrine, but merely emphasizes the grandeur of divine design. Islamic theologians referred to Quranic verses mentioning the multiplicity of worlds, seeing in the comet a sign of the approaching times of great revelations. However, fundamentalist groups of various religions received the news with alarm and suspicion. Some preachers declared the appearance of Comet Atlas as a harbinger of the apocalypse, calling believers to repentance and prayers. Dozens of theories appeared on the internet, suggesting that the comet carried demonic forces or was an instrument of divine wrath. Reports of structured radio signals emanating from the object caused a particularly strong reaction. The scientific community found itself in a difficult position. On the one hand, scientists understood the need for a cautious approach to data interpretation and avoiding premature conclusions. On the other hand, the public demanded clear answers to questions about the nature of the mysterious visitor. Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, a renowned science popularizer, called for a rational analysis of facts, emphasizing that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Psychologists noted interesting changes in the behavior of people of different age groups. Young people perceived the possibility of extraterrestrial civilization with enthusiasm and curiosity, seeing in it a confirmation of their ideas about the infinity of the universe. Middle-aged people showed a more cautious reaction, demanding additional evidence and scientific justification. Older people often expressed anxiety and skepticism, fearing cardinal changes in their accustomed worldview. It was at this moment that forces preferring to remain in the shadows entered the game. When data on structured radio signals from 3I Atlas began to leak into scientific publications, many researchers encountered unexpected obstacles. Dr. Mark Keller from the Palomar Observatory recounted how his application for additional observation time was suddenly rejected without explanation. Moreover, the administration demanded that already acquired data be classified, under the pretext of national security. Such cases multiplied worldwide, creating the impression of coordinated actions. Messages began to appear on social media from amateur astronomers who claimed they were asked to cease observations of the comet. Anonymous sources at NASA reported pressure from military departments demanding that public discussion of the object's anomalous characteristics be restricted. These theories were particularly active on platforms like Reddit and Twitter, where users shared screenshots of deleted scientific articles and video recordings allegedly showing unusual comet behavior. Blogger Alex Collier, specializing in conspiracy theories, published a series of videos in which he claimed that the governments of leading world countries had entered into a secret agreement to conceal the true nature of 3I Atlas. According to him, the object is indeed an alien ship, but this information is carefully hidden to avoid public panic. Collier cited anonymous sources in intelligence services who allegedly confirmed the fact of contact with the ship's crew. A theory that gained particular popularity was that the comet is a reconnaissance probe sent by an ancient civilization to assess humanity's technological development. Proponents of this version pointed to a strange coincidence. The object appeared precisely when Earth's civilization reached a sufficient level of development for its detection and study. Forums were flooded with discussions about the possible consequences of revealing the truth. Users exchanged links to declassified CIA documents about UFOs, drawing parallels with the current situation. Many believe that the concealment of information about 3I Atlas was part of a broader program to control knowledge about extraterrestrial life. What awaits humanity in light of all these discoveries and theories? The scientific community is working on several scenarios for the development of events. each of which can radically change our understanding of our place in the universe. The first and most probable scenario involves the gradual accumulation of data about the comet 3I Atlas, which will ultimately lead to revolutionary discoveries in the field of astronomy and planetology. Dr. Alan Stern from the Southwest Research Institute believes that a detailed study of the interstellar object will allow us to understand the processes of planetary system formation in the early universe. Perhaps the comet holds clues to understanding how life originated in space long before the appearance of our solar system. The second scenario is related to the discovery of irrefutable evidence of the object's artificial origin. If radio signals indeed turn out to be a manifestation of intelligent activity, humanity will face the need to revise all scientific paradigms. Professor Michio Kaku from the City University of New York suggests that such a discovery will be a turning point in the history of civilization, comparable to the invention of writing or the Industrial Revolution. The third, most dramatic scenario involves establishing direct contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. If 3I Atlas is indeed a reconnaissance probe, then its creators may try to establish contact with Earth civilization. SETI protocols provide an algorithm of actions in case of receiving signals from alien intelligence. But reality may turn out to be much more complex than any theoretical constructs. Regardless of which scenario turns out to be real, the appearance of Comet 3I Atlas has already changed our perception of space. This mysterious messenger from the depths of the universe reminded humanity that we are only a tiny part of a gigantic cosmic community, where civilizations may exist that surpass us in age and technological development by billions of years. Perhaps the ancients were right, and celestial guests do indeed visit our planet from time to time, bringing messages from distant worlds and reminding us of our place in the infinite universe. Standing on the threshold of the unknown, humanity, for the first time in its history, encountered an object that forced a re-evaluation of the most fundamental notions about our place in the universe. 3I Atlas turned out to be not just a comet, it became a mirror reflecting our deepest fears and hopes about the existence of intelligent life beyond Earth. Regardless of whether this mysterious visitor is a natural object or a creation of an ancient civilization, its appearance has forever altered the trajectory of human thought. We can no longer gaze at the starry sky with the same naivety, knowing that messengers from epochs when our planet did not yet exist travel between the stars. Perhaps the most important lesson of this cosmic visit was the understanding that the universe is full of mysteries that we are only beginning to comprehend. Each new day of observation brings data that either confirms the natural origin of the object or deepens the enigma of its true nature. Radio signals continue to arrive with clockwork regularity, like an ancient lighthouse pointing the way through the interstellar void. The scientific community is divided into those who see in these signals a manifestation of unknown physical processes, and those who are ready to admit the possibility of an artificial origin of the radiation. But regardless of scientific disputes, ordinary people around the world raise their eyes to the sky every night, trying to discern the faint point of light that might be the first confirmation that we are not alone in space. 3I Atlas has made us ponder humanity's readiness to meet the unknown. Are we ready to accept the reality of civilizations that developed for billions of years while our planet was a lifeless rock? Can we maintain unity in the face of discoveries that will overturn all religious and philosophical systems? This interstellar messenger has become a catalyst for a global discussion about the future of our species. Perhaps its true message lies not in the mysterious radio signals, but in the impulse towards unity and development that it has given humanity. We stand on the threshold of a new era, an era When the boundaries of our world have expanded to galactic scales, and our dreams of space travel have taken on real contours,